Well, hello everybody, and thanks. First of all, thanks Ian to be here with us today in our blog forum. Okay, it's just Ian MacLeod that is gonna talk about his article in the blog that is from assistant coach to the head coach. But first of all, I would like just to congratulate for your season and I'm very happy to do this blog forum today because obviously this is connected with my family in UK, in England. I have been there for a long time and talk with someone like Ian, which is like a successful coach. I know his pathway. I know how he started. When I was over there, he was assistant coach in the best BBL team in all the years. And right now he's the head coach in Newcastle, the best or one of the best teams over there, and we know that the basketball there is rising. So first of all, congratulations and thank you, Ian, to be here.
Thank you very much. No, thank you for having me. It's a real honor.
I hope like now everybody, okay, that is looking at us is just clapping his hands, okay, just to receive you. And first question for you basically is like, how is the pathway to be from assistant coach to the head coach?
The pathway, it was a unique pathway. I wouldn't say it was a straight line. It wasn't always the clearest. But for me, 10 years with our academy, 7 years as assistant coach, and this is my second year as head coach. But it was a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice. It was a lot of time away from family, a lot of commitments, and it was a very unique situation. The 7 years I was assistant coach, I was assistant to a player coach, which is not something that you have a lot in basketball, but the coach was actually still during his playing career as well. So a very unique journey, but one I'm very proud of.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, I have some questions as well and some comments from Oscar. Normally we are doing, or myself or Oscar here, and he's saying that in such a difficult year as well, be like a playoffs champions is like a great success. But we were talking, Oscar and myself, just preparing your interview, and we say, how Ian can define success?
Very difficult. Externally to everyone on the outside, to the media, to fans a lot of the time as well, it's simply how many trophies do you have in the trophy cabinet. We have 2 out of 4 this year, so okay, you can tick that box. But also player development as well. We had a game at the end of the season there where we couldn't really change our ranking in the BBL, before playoffs with the last game. And one of our 20-year-old players who's been with us since he was 10 years old, he actually led us in minutes. He played 28 minutes in a BBL professional game. He didn't look out of place. And it was almost like he'd arrived on the professional stage. And that was a very proud moment for me to see him do that. So there's the player development aspect as well. But, I think all sports fans, and particularly in the northeast of England, we want to see a team that gives us some hope, that is an attractive style of play and is exciting. And I think we gave our fans that as well. So I like to think we had a little tick in all of those boxes. The players came along. We had some trophies, but we were quite good to watch as well.
I like just when you talk about the balance, right? To have a trophies like some achievement, but develop some player. I mean, it's like a kind of achievement that sometimes. We need to put in value in front of the fans as well, in front of the people that is supporting us, because it's another kind of achievement, right?
Of course, because we all want to say that it's about developing the player and developing the person, when of course it is. But if you aren't winning, you're not in position. You don't have the job forever, So it has to be a balance. And, you are more likely to continue the job if you are winning than if you are not producing players. Unfortunately, that is just the nature of professional basketball. So I think you can't focus too much on one or the other. They are both linked. They are both extremely important. But if you want to keep your job, you have to be doing some good things.
Yeah, you have to do good things, and also in a difficult league, because maybe people in Europe, they don't know about the BBL in UK. Probably maybe people in UK that is just looking this interview, because we are going to put as well in YouTube. So the interview we are going to put in different channels that the people can just watch and listen us. So people in UK, maybe they know, because the level is rising the level. I mean, we have London Lions right now, which is like a very, very tough team. We have as well Leicester Riders, which is very tough team. So, but I mean, after we cannot forget about Plymouth, about the Sheffields, I mean, it's a lot of coaching, new coaching, great coaches, because after we can see like Nick Nurse that was coming from the BBL, everybody talk about him, his pathway as well for NBA. So what do you think about how it's rising the level over there in terms of basketball?
Yeah, I mean the big thing with the UK, which is a little bit different to a lot of other leagues around Europe. Your Germany's, your Spain's, your France, is you have this year you have 4 import players. We can have 4, which are generally American players, 4 visa import players. But it's actually the quality of your local players which will define your success. If you only have 1 or 2 good local players, then now suddenly you're operating with really only 6 top-end players. The teams like Leicester, Plymouth have done a good job of it this year. We have traditionally done a very good job of it, is returning those local players and then building around them with the foreign talent. Now, the difference between, the leagues in Europe is there are so many Spanish basketball players. There are so many German basketball players. There's not anywhere near that many British players on the high level. So developing those guys around your imports is one of the biggest keys to success. The reason Leicester Riders in particular was so consistent this year is they returned a lot of guys who knew the program, they knew the expectations, they were comfortable as people, and that led to consistency on the court.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, after, obviously, I think maybe that this is some personal because I was over there as well. So I think that the people, the government, I mean, we need a little bit more, and we have this window now to say we need more economical support as well, financial support, right?
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think everyone is pretty much on sponsorship. How much sponsorship can you get? And that's what you do. There's no central support from government. I think the real important thing is not simply giving professional teams money. It's investing in the grassroots. We need players at 4 years old who are basketball. They're into basketball, as opposed to 11, 12, 13-year-old when maybe they've tried some other sports. We need to invest in the younger ones. Newcastle Eagles, we have a program called Little Dribblers, and we have 5 years old, kids at 5 years old coming in, with the correct size basketball, the correct size hoops, and doing all those right things to try and get people into basketball as early as possible. And I think that is a big key.
Well, I mean, coming back a little bit with your article as well, and one question that we prepare as well with Oscar, because I mean, we have to reflect, we think about what you write, and it's like, how you prepare yourself for the next opportunity. So obviously, the article is like a travel from the assistant coach to the head coach. So obviously, in that moment, it was a preparation from you to be in the next step. That sometimes I'm assistant coach right now and I say in ACB, I don't know where is my next step. So I mean, I'm actually just working with some people, some agents, some people that was like you also in the pathway to do from assistant coach to head coach. But I don't know right now myself. But obviously you know that travel, and my next question is going to be, what is going to be your next step? But starting from the first one, okay, how you prepared?
I mean, to be honest, I wasn't, because it was unexpected. I found out that I was going to be head coach 7 days before the first player arrived. So I didn't recruit the team. I didn't have a summer to build up to it. I was expecting to be assistant again. So it was all very, very fast, the transition. Going back, if I could go back 4 or 5 years and have that assistant coach's journey again, what I would have done is every time we had a situation where a decision had to be made, and I was evaluating that decision. So as an assistant coach, I was saying, maybe I would do this differently. Maybe I would have taken that differently. I would record all of those situations. you know, we had a game where we were down 5 and there was a minute left. I should have done this. I would record that. And I would say what I would have done differently. So when I was in those situations, I can actually evaluate and look back what I was thinking at that time. Because as an assistant, you already have a much clearer mind. You have less pressure in those moments. You think more clearly. So I would have recorded my journey as an assistant in far more detail. I wish I'd produced something that I could now look back on and evaluate. And that would be my biggest piece of advice to people who are assistants right now, is start planning now, evaluate the head coach's decisions, what you would have done differently, what you liked and what you agreed with. So you have something that you can take forward with you.
But even if you say that, you were ready. Because we have like one sentence here, let's say, you have to prepare yourself to be ready. So even if it was quick or fast, and maybe the pathway you didn't know, but you were ready. You were there. So you prepared yourself, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you had no choice. You're in the situation, so you have no choice. You're suddenly in that role. I think, like you say, preparing yourself to be ready is the key. You know, so when it does come, you know, it's not a surprise so much, and you're ready to make a seamless transition. For me, it was a lot about learning on the job, and it was a lot about making some mistakes as well, in particularly with interacting with players, particularly the returning players, the guys who were coming back.
Mm-hmm. And well, as I advanced before, what is your next step?
I'm from Newcastle. I grew up in Newcastle. I've been with the club for 21 years. I'm not in a hurry to see what is next and what's over the horizon. I'm not someone who will jump from job to job for a few extra £1,000 or things like that. For me, it's about building a program in Newcastle to make we've got a lot of things we can be a lot better with around the program. I would love to see Newcastle compete in European competition, whether that be, you know, Euro Cup or whatever else we could achieve. So for me personally, the goals are still heavily linked to the club. I'm not ready to simply look for me. If I was to say just for me, I want to get back into national team coaching. I was with the junior national team under 18s for a few years. I'd like to return to that. I'd like to take a team into European championships with 18s, 20s, whatever that may be. That's the next step for me, I believe, though.
That's nice. That's nice. And right now, obviously, you as a head coach, you can check on your assistants. So how you assess, help your assistant coaches, and how they help you?
You're assuming I have assistant coaches. I have one, and I have a one who is at practice one time per week. So a lot of pressure is actually on me for the delivery and for that planning side. I think the best way you can help your coaches is finding out what they want. The first step you have to do is, where do they want to go? What do they want to achieve? What do they want out of this experience? But ultimately, where do they want to go? Therefore, every time you are evaluating or you are discussing sort of their progression, you have to relate it back to them as much as you would with a player. You know, if you have a 22-year-old player who eventually wants to play NBA or ACB, then every day, everything they do has to direct and point towards that ultimate goal. And I think it's the same with the coaches. Like, some guys might actually not want to be a head coach. They might want to be a career assistant coach, which is no problem. So there's no point pushing them down a direction that maybe they don't want to go. So I think finding out the goals and what their plans are is important for your assistants. And it just comes back to relationships, really.
You chose, for example, the chosen tactic was not the important thing. It was the players develop. That was you, right. What did that moment mean to you as a head coach?
I think when it comes to tactics, there is no correct way, because if there was a correct way, everyone would do that. It's about the small execution within it. Now, for instance, you have a point guard who plays with a 5-man. But we need to know more about that. Is the point guard a good shooter? Yes. Okay. Maybe we set a screen a little bit differently then. Is he one hand dominant? Okay. So how we set a screen in this area of the court is very different. So the relationships between the two players are extremely important, not just the tactic. The point guard comes off a pick and roll, but who is he playing with? Is this guy more likely to pop? Is it going to be a short roll? Is it a deep roll? Is he likely to, you know, front pivot or reverse pivot? These are all small things that we don't necessarily have in the playbook, but it's relationships between two players that they have to get used to each other. They have to feel comfortable, and then they can execute the best. Because if you simply talk about the tactic, then really you're missing an opportunity to develop that tactic.
The chemistry as well, we are talking here.
Chemistry, yeah, there's chemistry and cohesion between each player. You know, a forward has maybe 3 or 4 guards that he'll play in the pick and roll with. 3 and 4 very different guards, all of them. Left hand, right hand, good shooters, bad shooters, athletes, non-athletes. Everything has to be set a different rate. The angle of the screen may change each time for every single guard. One guard might not be good in the pick and roll. It might be more of a get situation, and he comes for a DHO, a handoff. Everything is different. So all that cohesion is there, and the decision is made in a split second. The decisions are not made in the summer by the coach when he's drawn the playbook.
That's something that I would like just to hold over there and to just have a second of attention. So it's not only the coach, okay, it's the second of the execution of the player, right?
Of course. I mean, I was listening to a lecture recently, and they said the first 5 minutes of a game, the players will make more decisions than the coach has made all week in the first 5 minutes. You know, so we can't control every single decision. They have to be comfortable with each other.
So, well, I mean, then with this one, out of the questions that we were talking, but I have to mention as well, for example, people that I was working over there in UK as well, like Alan Keane or Mark Bennett, and because we talk a lot about that, and then one of the keys maybe is just put this kind of environments in the practices, right? So if we cannot control everything, where we can control, make that very clear, but the rest of the things have to be put the structures or the things that they are going to happen in the game, okay, in the decision making during the week, right?
Of course, we create the environment, or we're responsible for creating the environment. But then the player, they also have to know why, not just the what. So everyone speaks about why and what, you know, and when they are doing things. But if a player does something good, bad in practice, or they need to be able to review, they need to be able to say what they did, why it worked, why it didn't work. And that's what I think Mark Bennett and Alan focus on a lot, the two guys you've mentioned there, is actually getting the player to evaluate their decision. They've made the decision, but were they an accidental hero? Did they make it by accident and it just happened to work? Or was it a conscious decision from them? So can they actually articulate, and can they review and tell people why it worked? And if they can replicate that, they can do it again. If they're not sure why it worked, well, maybe we can't do it again. Maybe we'll constantly be searching for the right answer.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, well, Ian, about the blog forum, I mean, this is all we wanted to ask you. So, is any special thing that, for example, you would like to add for us and after the article you wrote?
I would just say that when you take away the tactics, when you take away the statistics, and when you take away, you know, the bus rides and the league tables and the trophies, you're dealing with people. Everyone, there's a person there, there's a relationship that needs to be nurtured, whether it's coach to player, player to player, and everyone around the club as well. All those people, all those volunteers, all the owners, it's all relationships with them. And no matter what, all those other things, the tactics, that they'll always be there, but the relationships are the things that you have to focus on.
So, well, thank you very much for this, Ian, top coach in UK and top person in UK and in Europe as well. So thanks a lot for your time. I hope like the people enjoy this. I hope the people like go to the blog forum, just to the blog, just to read your article. And thanks very much.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.